Hi. So this will probably be really quick. I just wanted to talk a little bit because so I I've been wearing low-rise skirts recently. And not like on purpose. It actually wasn't really on purpose, and they're not purposefully low-rise. Like they're skirts you can wear at any level. They're like I'm going to show you. So this is what I wore today. This is what I wore today. You wouldn't be able to see my underwear. So it was like this. That's what I wore. Like this. And I've been wearing things like this for like maybe a few weeks now, like maybe 1 or 2 weeks, honestly, not even that long. And I didn't realize that I was doing it until like maybe the second time I did it. I wasn't always comfortable wearing low rise, and it wasn't like a thing of like, I can't wear low rise, but it was just kind of subconscious, just with things around the body, being a woman in this world, and the ever changing body image and insecurities and things like that. And part of what has been revolutionized in me over this past year is my confidence, especially around clothes and expression, and my style is evolving. And I've always been someone who really expresses myself through my fashion. And as I've become more confident with myself and more in tune with what I actually like to wear and what feels good on me, my style is fitting to change that, is changing to fit that. And also, as I'm becoming a woman and a grown woman, I no longer really, for a while I still felt like a girl, but now I feel like a woman. I don't know why that change happened. It just has happened. And I don't want to be perceived as young anymore, like a young girl anymore. And I know that sometimes I have an energy and a face that come across as younger. And I do know that I pull in an energy of people thinking that I'm younger than I am. And I don't really like that anymore. I want to feel my age, and I want to be recognized as grown. And so I've been also shifting my style to represent a little bit more of my own expression of sexiness, because I also am trying to tap into that energy and recognize that I'm not just cute. I'm sexy. I'm a grown woman. I'm beautiful. I'm a woman. I'm grown. And so my energy in my clothes is changing to express that as well. And I'm just more open. I show more cleavage. I feel comfortable in my body. And part of my body confidence is also, the way I wear clothes. And so I've been wearing these low-rise skirts, and I feel really happy doing it because I'm trying to wear it and not even like, I wear it and I don't think about sucking in my stomach, but then sometimes I remember that I'm wearing low rise and I get insecure because a lot of people stare at me. And so sometimes I feel the need to suck in my stomach. And there's been a lot of shifts around the way that I see my body. I always chose like size small in clothes. And I've never really gone off of sizes. I go off of what fits me. But I'm really recognizing that I am not, oh, I just saw 333. I'm really recognizing that I'm not perceived as the way that I see myself. I don't know. I'm realizing that I'm probably perceived as like mid-size, or even, I guess, in some clothing, plus size. And I don't have a problem with that. But I'm realizing that the way that I dress sometimes, I mean, a lot of the time, I'm used to being stared at, so that's not something new. But the perception around my body, because I never used to show my skin like that, especially because I also have insecurities, or I had a lot of insecurities around my eczema. It's getting a lot better now that I'm older and getting to control my health and things like that. But just showing off my body more and being a thick girl, I'm starting to also see myself more realistically. I also think I had a lot of body dysmorphia, so I didn't really get an accurate depiction of what I looked like. And my body dysmorphia actually didn't make me feel bigger than I was. It made me feel smaller than I was. And that wasn't a positive thing because, for one, I wasn't recognizing my shape. I wasn't recognizing what I actually looked like. I am a thick girl. I'm not small, But I always felt small, and I think that's because of the way that I felt in terms of the world, the way that the world treated me. I didn't feel present, and so I felt small. So I also perceived myself as being smaller than I was, um, and it created all these. I had all these complexes around health and diet, which I talked about in a video I just recorded. But I just wanted to come on here and talk about why the ego is important, because I'm walking home in my low-rise skirt, and even just I've realized, my ego has really built me, and my ego was passed down, I think, through the women in my family, and it's so important to me. I would never want to get rid of my ego, because it has been such a lifesaver throughout my life in terms of not letting me get affected by other people's insecurities. Because the way people will project onto you when they see you doing something that they're just too afraid to do it's really intense. It happens with men all the time, with the way that men catcall, and the way that men body shame other women and things like that, and the way that what's it called, like whorephobia, all of those things that men do and other women also do and just people do in general. But yeah, I was just, your ego is so important, because your ego makes light of things that otherwise would be that would make you feel small. If I was younger, all of the people staring at me while I was wearing that low-rise skirt would have made me pull my skirt up, would have made me look down in shame. But I walk with my head up and I don't look at people, or I look at people and I smile. And I have this inner dialogue that I talked myself through uncomfortable situations. So when I'm out in public and I can feel people staring at me, which is all the time, I have a really present inner dialogue and I always talk to myself, and my ego is always telling jokes. And so it was saying this whole monologue about just dragging people and being super dramatic and ridiculous. But it was making me laugh on the inside, and it made everything easier and made everything lighter and just funny. And, the song Obsessed With Me came into my head, and my ego was singing it, so then I put it on to my music. And it's just such a protective shield, and it's so important. And your ego deserves so much love. Because as much as that is just your soul and your confidence and you living in your power, that's also your ego. Your ego is not a bad thing, and you need that. That is what helps you get through the world and remain yourself and stay grounded in yourself when everything else is trying to make you feel like crap about yourself, because they feel like crap about themselves. And that's just something that I had a little realization about. And I always remember it every so often, but I just wanted to come on here and share that, because I was like, the ego is not some scary thing or some evil thing that you should be ashamed of. And you should really love your ego and support your ego and really appreciate it, because it comes through. It really comes through when you need it, and it saves you from taking on other people's insecurities. Sometimes your ego is that protective shield for empaths. Because we are all empaths. We're all empathic. And I think everybody on earth is an empath, if you ask me. I think either by trade or just because you have to be. Just with the energy of earth, we just are always taking on other energies. It's just the way that things kind of are. And even for social survival, you kind of become an empath, especially when you're a kid. And sometimes you grow out of that, sometimes you don't. So, sometimes you become an empath through trauma. Sometimes you just are an empath. It just is what it is. It's whatever. But I think everybody's has deep empathic roots. And the ego can be a lot of that boundary and that protection that helps you move through the world and block out energies that you don't need. It's like walking through the world with your headphones and playing your favorite song. That's kind of what my ego does for me. It just, whenever I sense an uncomfortable situation, my ego just slips in and we just start having this conversation in my head. And it's usually coming up in the form of a fantasy or a daydream or a funny conversation, imaginary, for when I was walking down the street, walking home, and people were staring at me, and I was just looking at me even closely, people I was passing on the street were giving weird looks or nasty looks, or I just felt uncomfortable. My ego just came in and we started having this conversation as if I was on the bus talking to a friend on the phone. This is how I was imagining it in my head. This is how it was going. We were on the bus and I was talking to a friend on the phone. I was just dragging dragging people for staring at people when, and being insecure. And it was really funny. And I was just like, and it just got me through that entire walk home. It protected me. It was my shield. And I just like, that's what your ego does when it's in a healthy state, and then when it's loving, and when it's guarding you, and it's uplifting you. That's what your ego does. And so this is why we need to appreciate the ego, because there are so many blessings that our ego gives us. We just have to, it just needs to be balanced. Because when you're balanced in your soul, then your ego is balanced. Your ego doesn't want to hurt you. Your ego is just reacting to what you're feeling and what you're like. So if you're balanced on the inside and you're in an uncomfortable situation, your ego is going to soothe you through that. It's like a mother that comes in and soothing a baby, you know, who's dealing with the crappiness with like an uncomfortable world situation because they're in an uncomfortable situation and they're a baby. You know, that's like what the ego does. It's just soothing. It talks you through a situation. It's that friend that holds your hand. It's that friend that blocks other guys from trying to dance with you in the club. Your ego is like your best friend that you're on the phone with on the bus. That's literally what the situation was in my head. That's what the situation was that my ego created. And I have that dynamic a lot of me being on the bus talking to a friend. That's the dynamic my ego creates a lot, probably because I'm always on the bus. But my ego is like my best friend, and your ego can be like your best friend too. It doesn't need to be your enemy, and it shouldn't be your enemy. And there's nothing evil about the ego. And, you know, an ego death is really, I don't know if I've ever had one. Maybe I have, I haven't, I don't know. But I love my ego, and I appreciate my ego, and I just wanted to come on here and say that, because I just was thinking about the fact that my ego fully got me all the way home, confident and happily, and it's been teaching me so much, you know. Tapping back into a healthy space and a healthy relationship with my ego has helped me walk with my head up instead of looking down, and helped me smile at people when I'm walking instead of just avoiding their gaze, and has helped me ignore people and continue to move through a space and not feel uncomfortable and not feel bothered by other people's uncomfortableness. You know what I mean? Like, I can get on the bus, and even though I know people are uncomfortable by my outfit or feeling triggered by my outfit or whatever, that has nothing to do with me. And my ego is that shield that helps me remember that it has nothing to do with me. They're in their own personal spiritual attack. That's nothing to do with me, you know, that I'm just living my life. That's what my ego is teaching me. And it's such a beautiful and kind and hilarious teacher. And I love it. And I feel like I got to this point with my ego. Like, my ego is kind of like it's not my inner child voice, it's my inner teenager voice, because I really started to build up a bond with my ego when I started to develop my own sense of style, my own taste, which was in my teens, when I started to change my hair up, and it took a lot of confidence to change my hair and wear all these crazy colors. And, you know, I was in New York, so I needed confidence because I was in a new space and I was in high school. So that's when I really started to become close with my ego. And back then I wouldn't have recognized it as just, you know, my ego, but it was. And during that time, my ego was like my best friend. I mean, I didn't have anything else, you know. I was disconnected from spirit, from God. I didn't really feel like I just wasn't connected, and I didn't have a lot of friends, and I was, you know, a teen, so I was not really close with my family. We were going through changing relationships. It was me and my ego, and we were building each other, and that's one of the things where I created a strong bond that I'm really happy about, is like my expression through my clothes and my hair and things like that. And my sense of beauty has changed so much as I've gotten older, and especially this past year, my sense of my own personal beauty has been revolutionized. And my ego in turn has been, and I'm just entering this grown woman energy that I just love so much, and it is all so natural and so authentic. And I'm so glad that I didn't just get rid of my ego, or that I don't have a relationship that makes me afraid of my ego. I'm very happy about it, and I really love it. And I wish that for everyone, and I think everyone deserves to have a strong ego, you know, and a big ego. Like, have one. You're supposed to. Your ego is important. Your ego helps you feel everything that you need to feel, and helps you recognize everything and just not pretend like it's not there, but recognize it, and then also recognize that has nothing to do with you. And also just recognize the own fabulousness of your own energy, that it really be bringing out crazies in other people, you know? sorry, it hurts to be fabulous. Like, that's what it really is. And that's like the voice of my spirit and my ego. They're the same thing. She's so sassy. She's so ridiculous. She's literally like my teenage self, but just hilarious. And I love her. And I'm so glad I have my ego, because that is how I stay connected, I think, to my inner teenager, to that essence of myself that I'm not in anymore, because I'm grown up. I'm grown, more grown than I was before. Like, that's my ego now. So I get to see the beautiful parts of my teenhood through the way that my ego protects me and loves me, as I've already healed, or as I'm continuing to heal the, insecure parts of my teenhood and the trauma parts of my teenhood. I get to keep the beautiful parts. So the ego is just so important, and I just wanted to come on and talk about that for a minute, because the conversation I had in my head was so funny, and I wish I could have recorded it. My ego is also very vulgar, and so that's where most of my swearing comes from. But I just love her energy, and I live in her all day. I love her so much, and we're just like, it's like one. Me and my spirit and my ego and me, we're just one. And so it really is all one at the end of the day. But I wanted to give some light to the ego specifically, especially with the sun shining on your face, sun energy. That could be considered masculine energy, right? Divine masculine energy, maybe? I don't know. Either way, I mean, it's all balanced. When it's balanced, then it's all of it. It's all types of energy, right? So, yeah, but I just loved it, and it made me feel really happy, and it made my walk home safe, right? Because I could have felt really uncomfortable, and I could have felt unsafe, because there were catcallers, and there were men slowing down their cars and looking out their windows. But that is also where your ego is your literal protection. Because sometimes what I found is that when you feel unsafe, and so you emit that through the way that your body reacts, it makes the catcalling worse, and people feel more comfortable coming up to you and trying to bother you and get in your space, because they can see that you're fazed by it a little bit. So that's where the ego is super important, and that confidence is super important that the ego gives you, because you're not recognizing it. So it's just not even an energy that can even come into the space, because there's no room for it, because your ego is it's taking up all the room. And I think that that's really important. So that's why it's so important to have an ego, and you shouldn't be ashamed of your ego, and ultimately also just dress how you want to dress. And wearing these low-rise skirts has been really good for my body confidence. I had a thing around my stomach mostly. I didn't really have, like, I had it around like this, like the fatty part of my armpit for a little while. It's not as like this. Like, I had it around this for a little while. Sometimes I have it around my arms, but my stomach has always been the main insecurity. Sometimes I have it around my back rolls and things like that, but it was usually my stomach. But this has been such an important, I didn't realize it, but the fact that I am in this place where my stomach is out is such a good place, and I'm really, really happy about it. And I'm really happy that it happened so naturally. I didn't have to be intentional and be like, okay, I'm gonna wear my stomach out today. Like, it's just out. And it makes me really happy, and I'm really proud of it. And my ego is a huge part of me getting to celebrate that. My ego is what makes me put on the low-rise skirt and walk and strut and swing my hips and want to be sexy and want to feel cute for myself, and also feel okay being looked at and like, oh, yeah, I do look cute, and like the attention. Like, all of that, there's nothing wrong with that. And also having that protection and getting you through uncomfortable situations. So yeah, that's a gift of the ego, a blessing of the ego that I just wanted to talk about. I said this is going to be quick, but it's 19 minutes, so I'm going to go now. But yeah, and I just recorded a video that kind of goes all over the place, but I hope you watch that as well, because I actually really enjoyed recording that video. And now I'm going to go find out where I'm going to go on vacation, because I need to book my vacation. So, my vacation. So, goodbye!